I think we're live. I'm not sure. This is the Art of Rock. Welcome. I'm just going to leap straight into it. I think this is the Art of Rock. Apparently, this is the Art of Rock. Welcome to the Art of Rock. Every Saturday morning, we're doing this, and I'm going to jump in there as quickly as I possibly can because I want to talk to Rob about video if Rob can actually join us. This is every Saturday here. Angelspit's Twitch, welcome. It's fantastic. It's all amazing. I've got to stop saying that because brought to you by Angelspit's Patreon, and now my bloody thing isn't working anymore. We're going to jump straight into it. Rob, for the few seconds you have left, tell us about your video process.
Oh, okay. So video process, I do all the video work in DaVinci Resolve, and that's where I synchronize a lot of the audio tracks, and then I plan out the storyboard in Resolve by laying out all of the audio, breaking up the sections of audio that will be scenes for the music video, and then I will drop down the basic visuals for each scene. It might just be a still. It might be just a caption that says insert Carl here or something like that. And what I do is I then go back and start to develop each scene. So I know how many seconds it's got to run for. Does it have to synchronize with the beat? And I've got a method of synchronizing with the beat in the tool as well. And then I will, at the end state, after everything's developed, I'll do the splash at the beginning and the credits at the end. And for the content, I have used AI tools before. I've got one particular video clip I'm collaborating on where somebody wanted to create some very invasive graphics of human bodies. And so I did cut scenes between AI distorted images with real images and with some synthetic images. So it's kind of confusing the audience as to what they're actually looking at, and that's all together on purpose because I don't want it to be all shock and awe. I want it to have some creative content. And for all the creative content that I do, if I'm not doing analog video recording and effects through different lens types to get different effects, I'm doing it all in Unreal Game Engine. So Unreal Game Engine has a lot of cinematographic tools. A lot of the latest movies are shot in Unreal Engine, and you can do green screen work in it. You can do video inside of video scenes. You can control the dollies, the rails, the booms, everything that you would expect to do in that environment. And it requires that you have access to a lot of assets. So 3D models, terrains, sky drops, backdrops, people, maybe metahuman capture, so capturing your hand and your face movement. I haven't done so much metahuman stuff yet, but most of the work that I'm doing, I develop the 3D models in Blender. I will pull public domain source images like from NASA for Carl's work. I'm grabbing a lot of the backdrop imagery, and then I'll start to convert that into 3D models so I can start doing special effects on star clusters, for example, have them move and race through distance and time. And Unreal Engine has a lot of MIDI controls in plugins, as well as audio effects. So I can take a segment of a track and I can use that segment of a track to drive a special effect using the Niagara special effects engine in Unreal, for example, like particles. Or I can take a MIDI feed and use a MIDI channel or a MIDI controller. And if I listen to the track, I can use a touchpad in real time to trigger and record all of the video effects that occur so they are synchronized roughly in the video editor, and then I can adjust them to fit perfectly with the audio signals as I see them and line them up, within 100 milliseconds kind of deal. That's pretty much in a nutshell, Carl.
So I could give you a MIDI file.
Yes. Yeah,
That's
I can,
insane.
yeah. And DMX as well. If anyone who's familiar with lighting effects, I learned a lot of these techniques from deadmau5, the artist up in Canada who does big kind of DJ rave concerts. and he started developing all of his concerts in Unreal with DMX lighting controls. So I can take my DMX light and effects board, I can plug it into my PC, I can record a whole DMX series of events, and then build 3D effects in Unreal so they're triggered by the DMX controller or MIDI. And you can go the other direction. You can actually control DMX and MIDI from Unreal Game Engine as well. It's actually quite cool. And it's kind of the latest and greatest stuff. So it's exciting.
That's bloody amazing. I will let you go. You and I want to talk to you more about this later, but and hang around if you said you just said you may need to bail soon.
Yeah, I'll be on the chat and YouTube
Okay.
until the end of the show today.
Before I throw to you, Alex, I see your hand. Kerry, do you want to throw in?
Well, mine's a lot more simplistic. I use Runway Gen 2 and Gen 3 for mine. So I'll either put in, what I want. I'm still learning what words and what places to put to populate what images or videos I want. Or I'll throw in a picture or a video. And then from there, I put it into I take what Runway populates, and then I throw it into another image manipulator and work on trippy effects and stuff with that. And then I move it. I'm very simplistic. I move it to iMovie, and I have my sound. I record my music lately. I just do it as I'm creating. So I have it recording on a Zoom 8, which has an audio track separate from the video track. And so then I connect that to the iPad and download that to the iMovie, and then just drop in what I've been working on Runway and the other clip manipulative creation, what I took from there to create my video. And it's so easy to sync up. Mine's a kindergarten version compared to what he was speaking of, but it works for me. So I can focus more on the music.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Everything gets a wonderful result. So this is wonderful. Thank you, Kerry.
Yeah, thank you.
Alex, what are you thinking?
What I actually have done is even more simple. It's just recording a video and then laying an audio track on top of it. And maybe try to color correct a bit. Nothing more than that. But to what Rob was saying, there is now a technique called Gaussian splattering, which allows you to recreate 3D environments you're in with like really realistic detail. And if you want to clone a physical environment, that might be a really cool idea to pursue if you want to have like an actual space, but warp it and distort it and put 3D monsters in it or whatever. So that's something I would do if I were at that point, but maybe somebody else can take it as an inspiration.
I'm inspired. Thank you. Razi, talk to me.
I have a quick question for Alex, hopefully quick. Do you know, once you get the splat, and do you get a mesh or a point cloud, or what do you generally get out of that, and what can you do with it? You said manipulate, and I'm really curious.
I think it's a point cloud, but maybe there's a way to put it into a mesh or have like a macro in warping it. That's what I assume.
It sounds fascinating. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think there are also like other apps that make more traditional, what's it called? Polygon-based models with just your phone. So
this is fantastic. There's so many ways to make a mountain, isn't there? Does anybody else want to throw in here? I love talking about video. I hate making videos, but I love talking about videos. Anyone else? Because like when I do it, I just paint different things and then I scan them and then I make them transparent bits and then I animate them. But it would be so interesting to see what would happen. I've always wanted to figure out a video remix. How do you do a video remix? Razi, what are you thinking right now?
I think just by way of contrast, like so much of what I do is just lights, lens, camera, and not creating anything synthetically. Like I just spend a lot of hobbyist and creative time setting up lighting and stuff, which interestingly today I'm getting actual sunlight in a room and I'm dealing with the
Ew.
changing of the light. I know it's really disconcerting, but as it gets brighter, it hits this back wall and changes the tone of the blue so significantly that it's going from like pale blue to dark blue. Um, but yeah, there's a lot that can be said for doing something with a desk lamp and a, choice of camera lenses that every phone has built into it these days. Um, and I've got this stash of practical effects of things that are either glow or cause fire or make smoke or cause chromatic, color effects in the room. And I would really like to put some of them into service sometime in the next year and create something that's along the lines of what y'all are talking about with purely synthetic and sampled environments and stuff. And, see what, yeah, well, just doing it. Thinking about it is one thing.
It's fun to think about. It's really interesting that increasingly I find myself limited to the concept of what can I do in this apartment right here, right now. Like going somewhere and getting no, not doing that. Couldn't be bothered. I can't see you doing animated. Thank you. Welcome, Adam, by the way, and Kitty. I want to hear more thoughts. This is really lovely. About videos. Shoot me was the wrong group of words to use just then.
One of the things you're talking about, like going on location, is like having these ideas for a spot to go to. Sometimes they're not nearby, sometimes they're out of town. You got to like save up a budget and make time and like really plan ahead and bring the equipment and get to the spot and then change your plans entirely. But there's a lot to be said for like there's a gulf between spending time to create a little scene in your room, which brings one thing to mind as you're saying it. Film Riot does a series of like budget, but with really expensive cameras and sponsored lights, but budget versions of creating little mini cinema quality environments on shoestring budget. So they did a hospital room, I think, a couple of weeks ago, which was essentially just hiding all the stuff that doesn't look like a hospital room and putting the telemetry from your hospital stuff on a screen in the shot. Maybe somebody with a stethoscope walks in, but the ways that they cheat the stuff that's outside of the view of the camera, you don't do that. And anything that's in the view of the camera, you deal with and you work on and you hide and you light and you put small pools of accents and you draw attention to the things that say the story that you're trying to create. And yeah, you can do a lot right from your room. And maybe you got to mail order a couple of things, but that is what I'm talking about creating environments where you're not trying to get really good at compositing green screen. You're just putting stuff in your room and putting lights on them. And it's a different approach, but it can be if you don't get obsessed about it and actually end up getting stuff done. Word of advice. Yeah.
This is brilliant. Thank you. And remind me I want to talk about the Sleep Now video in a minute because there were some fun things done then. Alex, talk to me.
I think the closest thing to live video remixing is VJ software like Resolume, and I think there are also some others, because I think they can edit video and reconstruct scenes in real time and also put MIDI controllers and such things into action, so it's much more hands-on and not like mouse warrioring and constructing and maybe a bit more engaging. So I haven't had the chance to try it out myself, but I think that would be a direction.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm just going to put a movie here. It's on the Internet Archive, although it is not the public domain. It's called The Color of Pomegranates. If you've ever get a chance, watch this movie. It was done in 1968. I think it's a Czech movie. And it's about a famous poet and his life. And it's not really about him, but it's about the colors and the thoughts behind it. Yes, it's mind-blowing. There's another one actually on Tubi which I'm gonna watch. I haven't watched it yet. I'll put this one in here as well. This is called Valerie and Her Week of Wonders, and this is a I don't know where this one's from. It's also an arty European movie, and I'm bringing these up for a reason. That it's really lovely that you can create something. This is Valerie and Her Week of Wonders. Really simple. And you set up a shot and you just do it. And it's funny that there's a movie called, is it The Fall? And it was, the color of pomegranates is really inspired that movie. I think the color of pomegranates actually inspired a lot of movies. But The Fall was done in the early 2000s, and it's a scenically stunning movie. And it's, the story goes is that the director was working on massive ads for like Bank of China and these huge corporations in which he traveled the world with a great big IMAX camera. And his crew were also the actors in this movie. So as they went around the world, they were shooting in these absolutely amazing locations with swimming elephants in the ocean, with this absolutely beautiful storyline. Yeah, I really want to do a movie that uses a whole bunch of cutouts and stuff. And Rezi, I'll throw to you. Then I'd love to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in on underscoring the color of pomegranates. A clip of something from it went by really fast in another video essay that I was watching, and I was so struck with the shapes and silhouettes and costumes and decor and scene in that like 12 frames that went by that I was like sought it out and I watched it, and I've maybe made it through 15 minutes of the film. I can't just keep watching it because I'm pausing and taking screenshots and pretending I'm learning something about shot composition and costume on each of them. But it's like shot around Armenia, and a lot of it is on location, but there's a lot of like structures and filigree and arabesques and stuff in the frame on some of the things, and these very historic feeling and serious feeling and imposing costumes on the characters, which I related a lot to what the brothers Quay are doing.
Yeah.
And they have a new film are doing, I mean, because they have a new film out that I think is in festivals right now or touring, and I haven't actually seen it or anything, but I'm gonna follow up on that as another sort of visual tableau masterpiece kind of, but they do it in puppets, and stop motion, most of their stuff. But between those two, between Pomegranates and Quay, there's a certain aesthetic that are in common with a lot of what's in that are so strong and so just strikingly beautiful that I wanted to talk about it for a minute.
There's a Brothers Quay sequence in The Fall. I will try and find this movie. Please keep talking.
I like the Quay brothers movies. There's not a lot available for stealing, but sometimes they're on the library. And I think Christopher Nolan put an anthology together that went around a while ago, a long time ago, I should say. That was a lot of, like Street of Crocodiles, like you'd expect, but the Sanatorium and a bunch of other stuff. It's strange and wonderful, and they're twins, and they talk like creepy twins when they talk. And dusty and shadowy and cryptic and strange little films that they make out of these puppets that they animate, rusty screws and pieces of meat. It's just what everybody needs to watch.
That sounds bloody fantastic. I'm trying to dig up a thing on this fucking movie, if I can possibly pull up a thing on this fucking movie. It's absolutely stunning. My computer is dying right now. Damn you, computer. Oh, god damn it. So this is The Fall, and it's an absolutely gorgeous movie. to get ideas from and to get inspired by. Hopefully that works. And it's sort of, you watch movies like this and you go, well, there's no way in my lifetime I'm going to be able to create something like that. But it just gets the juices flowing. When we did the video for Sleep Now, we did, it was based on this vector art that Amelia did. And we actually took the vector art. Actually, we both built this kind of Bauhaus kind of cityscape. And we put it all together. And then we cut it out. We actually printed it out, placed it onto cardboard, and built this set that was all typography and everything. And the set was, so it's basically facades, which is cheap and easy to do. Luckily, we had access to a studio, but we laid it out in such a way. When it came time to edit the video, which was done by Tom, I forgot Tom's last name. He imposed the graphics, the original vectors that we used to print, into the video itself. So vector, everything would come together and then it would fade quickly to the actual set. And I've been left with this desire to create things using cardboard cutouts. And really kind of cool, spacey stuff where the camera moves through them. But then I don't know what the fuck I'm doing besides that. And plus what I'm going to be creating is really only going to be this big. Just cause that's all the size I have. So that's what I'm thinking of right now and trying to figure out what the fuck I'm going to do next. I see your hand. I just want to ask Carrie what her brain is doing right now.
My brain is remembering, and I apologize for not remembering the name of the song, but one of my favorite videos you did is with the sock puppets.
Oh, yeah.
That was it. So, and I just wanted to point out, that was just awesome. Yes, I dig up deep or old Angelspit stuff that I really like. And that is great.
Thank you. I thank Brett for being a part of that one. Eat the Children. A simple concept, simple execution, and you could do it in front of a green screen or in the joys of your own house with a pet. What was really interesting about that one is that I didn't spend much time editing it because it was such a crazy concept that the concept itself really worked. And the story was it worked. And I did a video for every song on that album, and some of them, like Mike the Liar helped me out, and some others as well. And it was just really interesting. Like Mike gave me this camera. Forgive me for repeating myself. He gave me this camera. By the way, Raziel, the color in the background is fantastic right now. Mike gave me this camera that was from the 90s, early 90s, and furthering to the conversation we had recently, Alex, about your shitty camera that everybody thinks is fantastic, and I think Ivan probably bought one, that it would only record 5 seconds. So I'd go on a walk and record 5 seconds of the hills coming up, sun coming up in Hollywood, or sun going down, or whatever. It was creepy as hell because of the camera, because of the low quality of everything. And there's a voice in the back of my head saying, for the fuck's sake, Carl, just go out and shoot something. Just go out and shoot something. Razi, I want to hear your amazing thoughts because you're the...
I hope that you'll indulge us a little bit more. I'm just cheerleading for your the Sleep Now video. I think that might have been the eye catcher, and by introducing me to you, like that might have been where I discovered who you were in the first place years ago. I like it a lot, so just let me say that the references to like Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and the El Lissitzky Russian constructivist style stuff with the animations. Do you mind doing a little interview Q&A on that real quick? Like, is that your input, or where did you get those few things? It seems so natural to put together in that style video.
I'll show you. This is hold on, I'll get the. God, I fucking hate YouTube. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link down here, and hopefully this is the right link. And I just hate Facebook. Let me know if I got that wrong or not. So the way it worked is that Amelia and I we came up with a concept that was you hit the nail on the head. It was all Legitsky and all very Bauhaus. And the concept was it was in the 1800s, and they were looking ahead into the far future, like said in like 1850 or something, looking ahead into the far future of 1924. And they were making a guess of what 1924 would look like. So it had this romantic idea of a romanticized version of 1924, where they probably thought, well, we don't even have cars yet, but they will be flying by 1924. And the idea of it was all very vaudeville, and there was a magician who was, I think it was inspired a bit by The Prestige as well, the movie The Prestige, which is one of the most incredible movies ever made. A magician who had a puppet. Was the puppet playing the magician, or was the magician playing the puppet? And the magician just appeared in this magical city where even the ground was covered with Earl Lissitzky type. And once again, I must acknowledge the brilliant design skills of Amelia Arsenic. Absolutely brilliant. So we created this set in a studio, and the way we got that studio was, okay, I'll be really quick. A very good friend's father, Claire's dad, his name is Warren. Warren worked on Lord of the Rings. Claire also worked on Lord of the Rings. Warren was one of the main guys who was building like Saruman's castle and all that stuff. He ended up working for this studio Kite in Sydney, where they shot The Matrix and all of this other stuff. And because of people, because it's Sydney, we got to know them. And they were doing their Christmas party, and their Christmas party, they were pulling in their clients. And these are all like huge clients, big clients, where they shot big commercials in this place. This place was the size of a hangar. And they had a green screen that was several stories high, and it was amazing. They shot big movies, big ads in there. And they said, we want to do a Christmas party where we want a whole bunch of performers and stuff. And, could you help us out? And I went, yeah, sure. And I said, don't pay me, because we're mates and, it's good fun. So we did this. I got a hold of different performers because they wanted it to look like a freak show, because they've got this backlot full of props that were used on aforementioned movies and burnt corpses. They had they put this like industrial drill on the end of this massive robot arm, like that made cars, and it was sculpting. They would 3D scan something this big, and then this arm that had a 20-foot reach, I think it was 20 foot, would sculpt out of massive blocks of styrofoam, would sculpt this stuff, and then they would build. It was 3D printing before there was 3D printing. So I got like the Living Mermaid and all of this stuff, and Amelia and I were going. Our job was going to be basically tour, showing people around, and making sure everything was okay, and just being there. And we turned up on the night, and they said, we don't have an MC, and I went, I'll be your MC. But I'm wearing my tattered industrial rock pit clothes, and I said, I don't really look like an MC. And they go, we can make you look like an MC. So they got all of this stuff and made me look like a ringleader of a circus. And it had a free bar, and it was a great night. It was a bloody fun night. It was so much fun, because you put a whole bunch of crazy creative people together in a room, and entertaining people, and it was fucking awesome. And at the end of it, they said, we owe you a favor. You and Amelia can do anything you want in this studio. provided there isn't something else on it. And I went, deal. So we shot Sleep Now, Hideous and Perfect, Ditch the Rest. And we also shot a video for Let Them Eat Distortion that never got seen. And I think it's the best thing we've ever done. We did a whole photo shoot for that, and it never got seen. And it was full of all these cupcakes, because the photographer who shot for fucking Vogue, Helen White, brilliant photographer, she had a friend who, because she shot food, her thing was shooting food. So she knew someone who made these insanely elaborate cupcakes. So we paid this woman to make, I think, 20 cupcakes. And then we went and made all these other background cupcakes. And these cupcakes were insane. Like, they were next level crazy. And the whole thing about Let Them Eat Distortion, the concept, it was Marie Antoinette and a guy. And we were injecting this psychedelic poison into these cupcakes, throwing them to the peasants who were becoming crazy. And then we were becoming crazy. And it was this whole thing spiraling, beautiful insanity. And fucking insane photo shoot. There's a photo in there of Amelia lying down in amongst all of these cupcakes in this crazy dress that she built. No one's ever seen it. And when I really want to release it. I should release it to the Patreon. Yeah, the video never got made. The lost Angelspit photo shoot. But anyway, that's how that video came about. And for Sleep Now, Amelia built this dress out of paper, because the whole thing was paper. That was the thing about Sleep Now. It was all paper. And she built this dress out of paper, and she basically had to get stapled, stuck, and glued into the paper. I'm sure she won't mind me saying this, but she couldn't pee for 11 hours. And she had to stop drinking 4 hours before it. And she was dying of dehydration. And being the total trooper she is, she got through the shoot. Because in order for her to relieve herself, she had to pull the whole dress apart. So she wouldn't do that. The makeup was done by one of the most incredible makeup artists. Fucking amazing. And it was interesting that the thing I remember about this is that, I forgot her name. The makeup artist meticulously designed what we were doing for makeup. And 20 minutes before, she's doing me, and she spent like an hour and a half doing me. And she looked back and she said, I don't like it. And Helen came in and had a look at it, and she said, Carl's got to be on the set in 20 minutes. Because Helen would always say that I could produce absolutely anything because I have military goddamn time. And so anything would happen. And Helen said, he's got to be on the set in 20 minutes. And she looked at the makeup artist, and the makeup artist wet her hands, rubbed the side of my face, wiped a whole bunch of it out, went, boink, boink, boink. And she said, that's perfect, go. And Helen saw it and she went, yes, that's great. And she did it like that. And it was one of those crazy moments where you plan and you plan and you plan. No. And then suddenly at this moment, there's this moment where your brain goes, I have to create something amazing right now. Right now. And there's this magical area of problem solving in your head mixed with panic that just goes, do it now. And I've always thought, how do I utilize that? Like how do I do that in music and everything? And I remember once we actually had one of these things, and Ivan, you said give yourself 20 minutes. And it's got to be super high stakes. Razi, what I saw your hand.
I was going to say that that's the sort of thing that comes with working with people at a time in a place on scarce resources, that is more than just the sum of its parts, where, yeah, it'll elevate the quality because of their skills, is that deadline of, becoming a problem solver really fast as the group. But you're about to pivot to imposing those sorts of constraints on yourself, which I utterly fail at. So that's where I stop.
I fail at them too. And I think it's because the stakes aren't high, that magic thing in your brain doesn't kick in because the stakes aren't high enough. And when the stakes are high, they'll kick in like, hey, you have to go on stage in 3 minutes and something's not working. Yeah. Alex.
Stakes and respect for the people that you're working with.
Yes.
Those are both like big factors.
Yeah. Alex, talk to
So I
me.
assume you don't have the same effect if you live stream yourself composing.
Well, no, I can't compose in a live stream because people are watching and it becomes a performance. Although it's interesting that there is that the stakes are much more elevated.
Mm.
Like Angelspit did a gig once where something happened and the laptop stopped working, and we had a drummer, a guitarist, and 2 vocalists, and it dropped. Aaron, it's good to see you. Hold on a sec. It dropped. And I just said, we're going to keep going. And it sounded punk rock as fuck because everyone knew their parts and everyone was playing their damn parts. And I remember I saw IMX in Chicago when their computer broke down and the last song, which is President. So they didn't do President. And I always thought if they pushed through that and if they said, we are going to do a live version now and you guys are now members of IMX and we're going to perform this song live now, it would have been a monumental life-changing experience because it's a fucking good band. The audience knows the song. And it's you could do that shit live, but they didn't. And it's like, God damn it, guys. Alex, your hand is still up.
Yeah, alternatively, I wanted to jokingly suggest that you program a computer that shocks you with an electroshock if you don't put down another MIDI track or something.
I love that. And connect it to your balls.
I don't need
Yes,
that.
yes,
Using-
yes, yes. If you want to get the job done, tase your balls. Aaron? We just
Hey,
lost our PG rating. Go.
I had a feeling that I was summoned today because filmage. Yeah, I think if you really get hung up on a lot of stuff, it's imposing limitations like everybody's been kind of dancing around, but in a good way. It would be instead of getting stuck and being like, what is the vision? The vision! And getting wrapped around the axle, you could explore, with, a couple other people in the room or just with yourself. But the point would be you could impose a limitation of, I've got this grand scheme or this vision for this video. But if that's not working and you're in the crux of just pure creative hell and you're getting hindered, you could literally say, hold on, time out. How does that character see me right now? What is the opposing viewpoint? And that might help you navigate through the weeds. In other words, if your whole grand vision is slated on one slate, well, you might be able to flip it around to say, well, that character sees the other one as a tyrant. Or they see them as a demon, or they see them as an evil king or a ruler, etc. So that different character viewpoint can help steer the path of it. If that makes sense. And also, the way that people see it is distorted. You know what I mean? It may be an entirely different mindset to where somebody. That's when you can play with simple practical effects and use fog and lighting or a clear platelet to put in front of your lens to distort and warp that character. Playing with perception, there's a lot of stuff you can do with all your camera angles, but I think it could start with something as simple as, if you're in a rut, just imagine how the other character or how they see one another and try to port that through your lens.
Thank you so much. Alex, are you there? Alex and I recently, a couple of weeks ago, do you remember we made each other, we said that we were going to go out and shoot something after that?
I do.
Did you do anything?
No.
Me neither. So you and me suck. We suck. Rezi, you can say something nice. Are you eating? Why are you eating? What are you fucking eating, man?
Because it's hot and I need something to cool down and I have ice cream left.
God
Wow.
damn it. And it's German ice cream and I fucking love German ice cream. What flavor is it?
Hazelnut.
Go you. Go you. And we were talking about depression and binge eating, and that's bad. I'm Resi. I want to hear your thoughts because I'm going to start eating fucking ice cream too.
Well,
'Cause fucking all.
you want me to start talking about ice cream because that's really my wheelhouse, if that's what you meant. But I think I'm gonna switch back to actually, I don't really have that much to add to what everybody's been talking about, with their takes on getting stuff done with respect to film. Um, as somebody who's definitely gotten Aaron, I love the term wrapped around the axle because that does imply that there's a mechanism in place with some momentum and that there are ideas flowing and there is some goal and you're on a vehicle and you're getting caught up in the process rather than getting carried by the object. The metaphor just makes so much sense. And I'm thinking back to the last 3 things that I've shot. I think I've got assets that are usable, and this is sort of the takeaway. If you turn on, stop it with you guys are triggering me. The 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 point is to turn on the camera during this process because the things that you're doing on the way to getting your shit together are also really good. You people are killing me. Just for a reference, everybody who's watching on streaming doesn't get to see the camera switch to 3 out of 6 frames eating from pints of ice cream with a spoon, stuffing their faces. Could everybody please make a noise so that it switches to their things? Carrie, I would like you to show us your ice cream while I'm in the middle of this.
Oh, I have, well, it's
Hello.
some left.
Very nice. Okay, good. Alex, yours. Yeah, say hello.
Hello.
Trader
There you
Joe's
go.
Ultra Chocolate.
Okay,
And
enough
then
of that.
I want you to
No,
finish
no.
your rant.
Praise.
Yeah. Putting your camera on while you're in the process of doing this stuff, you will come away at least with some good, probably great, maybe terrific, exactly what you wanted anyway, assets at the end of it. And the past 3 projects that I've started on for concept videos, music videos, like, actual put it on YouTube videos have not really been finished, and I've been involved in them in different capacities, either as the only person involved or as collaboration. But the things that I've shot all have footage, and that footage actually is coming in useful this week for other purposes. And there's what I'm going to call a very low bar for what you need to do something interesting in the world. And among those little pieces of stuff, you may find something great. So having said that, Alex, you're ready to weigh in.
I think I just forgot to put down my hands, but I think your idea is genius because being on camera also does the same thing for me as being observed. It's maybe something like quantum physics, but being observed makes me work and function different. So maybe I should try that.
Well, yeah, we'll call that the creativity observer effect. Aaron, what do you want to say about it?
Yeah, I would strongly encourage bounce ideas off of other people. You don't know what people are going to bring to the table, and you don't know when inspiration is going to hit. I've been on sets where somebody has a backdrop hanging up, and you see something whipping behind it, and people are like, "The fuck are they doing?" And it's an LED rope light, and they're changing colors, and they're whipping it behind the set. But all of a sudden, you're seeing this wild lighting effect, or all of a sudden, the fog machine kicks in, and people are like, "Who turned that on?" But then you see it start to roll and catch across the light, and they're like, "That's it. That's the shot. That's the thing. We need to grab." And like you said, do a little stuff because you're already doing behind the scenes stuff, or at least you should be filming,
Yeah,
if it's
yeah.
for the sake of troubleshooting or an aesthetic or seeing if you like it, or all the above. Or you might have reviewed it in post and go, "You know what? I didn't even notice that any of that was going on the side, but that's rad." When that person closed that half shade of a curtain, that changed the room dynamic, that changed the shot, that gave somebody a 50-50 contrast, like a shade on the side of their face. There's so much cool stuff that you can do. And if you're getting really discouraged, I would say, not to pick up a new hobby, but craft or find miniatures to film with. I had a box for a weed eater grass cutter that was like 12 feet long. and I was able to black that out, take one of my Grim candles that glow, supercharge it, put it in there, and have the camera track through the hallway. And that's part of the Erebus video that was on MTV TV. So again, it's just, what am I limited to? What are my constraints? I'm like, I'm on my garage floor with this painted box and this prop. I'm hoping it looks cool. Plus the advent of a little bit of fog or haze, spritz. Then when you roll the camera, you've got this really badass shot. So sometimes less is more.
I think that plays right into something that we were talking about earlier, or maybe I was just saying, is the hiding stuff from the camera view, subtraction kind of process where you're turning the lights off on things that you don't want to be seen, and you're putting backdrops or duvetine in the way of the shot, so that shadows don't cast on it to indicate where the background is, or you're making those things out of focus by using shallow depth of field. There's a lot of power and strength in changing scale, in that the power is that small things fill the screen with their detail, and they become important, and that's where you're injecting the power, and strength being the size of things on screen, indicates maybe more of a weight than a strength, but it's a remarkable shift in perspective that you can do right on the floor, given the correct lens, without having a lot of stuff in the room. Carrie, what are you thinking about it?
Another tip: be aware what's in the view.
Yeah.
There could be like trash cans or things like that, and that could like totally obscure and change the video. Or if I think of it from photography, because I did photography for a while, just be aware of what all is in that view, in the viewfinder.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And remove if need be. Unnecessary.
The things that you see people doing are twofold. There's one, still photographers, you'll see them shifting their position but staying focused on the subject, so that the background changes radically, and it'll introduce something that has nothing to do with the story, or remove something that has nothing to do with the story, just by that little shift. And then if you've seen, and I want to like magnify and elevate behind the scenes coverage as a separate art form for stills photography and also motion photography, when you're on sets and on locations doing stuff, the behind the scenes story to be told afterward is always very powerful in a lot of ways, which we can talk about in a second. But people arrive on the location, maybe the camera and director and scenic people are talking and saying what things are going to move. And they're just in somebody's house that they're doing a location thing at. But this vase goes in this corner. This couch, nope, we're going to use the other one. These pillows are gone, and you just start moving stuff around to get like your sort of matching some sort of simplicity or complexity vision that works with the moment that you're trying to shoot, by physically changing the space instead of physically changing your position. And there's a million other ways of doing that, turning off and on lights and changing your focal length. Aaron, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it concise. No, Carrie brought up an awesome point about the fact that it's like, it's kind of a play on the phrase, there's nothing good or bad, it's all in how you frame it. So it's literally to that end, through a lens. It could be, something that you didn't notice about the space, that maybe there's, 4 or 5 trees on a pathway when somebody's walking down the sidewalk. You can capture that, and you could use a tree to frame your subject. If it's something that feels like it's flat and it's not working, okay, maybe I'm not focused on the head to toe of this person the entire video. Maybe I focus down on their feet, and we're tracking with that for a while. Look up cinematography shots. There's what's called the 25 shots. And that's a good guidebook to go by, with all these different languages of cinema and how you can convey that through a lens, and just a really cool dynamic of everything. And then also field your ideas to people that are willing to help you. And you don't have to have it 100% down. I think that's where the anxiety comes in. And I think that's where people start kicking their own ass. Well, I don't have the whole thing completely mapped out. You don't have to, but you could say, I want to film Raziel bombing through the city street. I want to see him humming. I want to see him cutting a path. He's determined on X and he's going in this motion. Once I feel that idea out, somebody will go, oh yeah, well, we'll put somebody in a wheelchair so they can steady up the cam. We'll get the tracking shot or we'll get the trucking shot and we'll go. That's, but if you keep all of this bottled up to where you're like trying to figure out everything, it's like trying to split atoms. Like you're just going to drive yourself batshit instead of just venting it out a little bit and just being like, this is all of the madness. Help.
There's two takeaways from that before I throw it to Carrie and then back to Carl to take over. One, I'll bring the one wheel, for that shot. So I'll maybe I'll just be gliding. So if somebody else wants to have a motorized skateboard or something in it, that's good. We can collab and workshop that. And two, when you're on set, make sure you call every camera move a zoom up, zoom left, zoom in, zoom, whatever. It's very important to keep everybody understanding your mastery of camera directions. And yeah, Carrie, go ahead.
Actually, it's to kind of piggyback on what you and Aaron were talking about getting in the wheelchair or a skateboard. When I did my apprenticeship for photography, my younger years, many lives ago, I was taught, don't always stand and take the picture. Get down, move around. You get different angles and different points of views. And yes, there's the thirds, but you can manipulate those thirds and have 2 instead of 3, and they can go out the window. But yeah, don't stand straight on with that camera. That's all I got.
Unless you have a beautiful symmetrical shot behind you and you really want to get the leading lines, and then you can certainly symmetry the hell out of that. Carl, I know you're really busy indulging in ice cream, but can I throw it back to you now?
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you for taking over.
Of course.
It's really interesting. We were talking about happy accidents and happy mistakes and stuff, and you just got to get out to do it. Peter, I noticed, well, firstly, you do have ice cream in the freezer. Go eat that ice cream. But you just got to, you got to do it. Eat the ice cream, but also like take that damn camera out and see what happens. That's the really shitty thing about motivation, is that you don't have any motivation to get motivated. You just have to start doing it. Then you get motivated. And I'll also say guilt-free ice cream pleasure involves granola. If you get coconut oil, a couple of teaspoons of coconut oil, and then hi Frank, and then cocoa powder, pure baking cocoa powder, mix it all together, and then put that on the ice cream so it sets solid. The look on your face right now, Raz, is fantastic. So it sets solid. And you don't really need a lot of ice cream. You can just use it a little bit, or you can just freeze it. And you get something that Australians call chocolate crackles. Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's actually quite healthy. And then you don't have to have the ice cream if you don't want. So I need brain things now, more things. I just have to, Alex, you and me are taking our cameras out this week. We are. And if we don't, then I don't know what we're going to do. Alex, talk to me.
Unfortunately, filming alone is much more annoying than filming with friends. I don't know why.
But friends get in the way.
Yes,
no, they do.
They don't get as much in the way as I get in my own way, so.
I think I'm trying to figure out, like, if I put a tripod and then I just left it there and I walk towards it or something. I don't know. Like, I was at one of my places where I worked the other day, and some guy from a block away had one of those portable things, and he was playing something, and he was walking towards me around the corner. Sound of traffic on Sunset Boulevard, lots of excitement. And as he came closer, the song became clearer. And I was just thinking, that would be the most fantastic way to start a track, is that you get someone on a tripod and you get them to walk towards you, with your song playing a 4-bar loop, and then it kicks into your song. And I have to do that, or you can all send me poo in the mail. It's just ideas like that, and you got to write that shit down as well. Because, you know, sometimes you have a really cool concept. Sometimes you don't have a cool concept. Sometimes the concept happens while you're shooting. And sometimes that really cool concept you have falls apart when you're shooting and going, oh, this is crap, it's not going to work. Just keep doing it. Somebody has to take over now because I have to put ice cream in my mouth.
What I've seen, or rather heard people do, is have like a radio kind of version of their song and then crossfade with the real one, with the dry one.
This
So
is what-
basically a shitty speaker or maybe much reverb and then cross.
This is what I was thinking about, like when I was talking about remixing a song or remixing a video. Because, you know, if you remix a song, you might just take the vocals and change the whole thing. Seth from The Search did a remix for me, and he took one word, vocoded the crap out of that one word, and then that was the song. Totally changed everything. And it's really exciting that, you know, when some person goes, oh, I'm going to make a whole bunch of cardboard cutouts and zoom a camera through it, and somebody else goes, I'm going to use this Unreal Engine, and somebody else is going to use this and this and this. Like, that's just mind-blowingly exciting. I miss crazy fucking art. I miss it. Raziel, what are you thinking?
I think that making the analogy of remixing video is an interesting, like, little thought experiment in some ways, because, you know, like, you've got a composite finished thing. You can remaster a video. You can, I mean, the equivalent of audio remastering, where you've got a completed piece of work in which you're basically modifying all the elements at once. You're making them brighter, you're making them darker, you're putting a gradient vignette over the whole thing, you're making it more purple. And there, I don't even think that if you had the edit files, the original footage, re-editing a video still isn't a remix. The only, like, potential analogy for a song remix to a video remix would be if it was mostly digital assets that were composited and you got the original assets and recombined them into something, you know? I don't know. Does anybody else, like, had got stuck on that thought and thought it through, or is that one just me?
Aaron, I want to hear your amazing brain on this.
I think, a video remix. I mean, as an editor, it's usually one of those things where a good problem to have is having too much footage, quote unquote, but that opens the door to more remix opportunities if that is what you're gunning for, because you could have an original cache of a video of footage that you used, but then if you approach it on the remix, you use an entire different subset of that. Now, not everybody always has that advantage, or they go, oh, fuck, I didn't shoot enough, footage. But I think there's a dynamic there that you can play with just beyond just trying to tweak everything in post or just trying to throw new filters on it. But I think, when you plan to shoot, just shoot the living fuck out of everything that you possibly can. And that's, because memory cards are getting better and better. You can fit 1 billion gigabytes on a freaking chip the size of your thumbnail. So there's a lot of opportunity there. But yeah, I would think it would kind of boil down to the approach of the footage you use versus the ones that you could revisit and use the second go around. And there's nothing to say that you can't use minor bits from the first edit that you really, really liked, but just in a different way or during a different part of the song. I think that boils down to what is the motivation behind the cut, because you can really find out who's just slap banging shit together and who really doesn't enjoy editing, and they're just like, it's crunch time, fuck it, send it. Or you'll find editors that really latch on to things and they get the vision that you're driving at, or the music, the feel of it, or the lyrics, or hopefully all of the above, and they use certain things as their prime drivers. You know, it could be the feeling that the instrumental invokes. It could be, I mean, I've done about 130 music videos set to games and movies just that I liked, but I could always say that the prime driver was the feeling that that song gives you, and then a lot of that footage just kind of naturally falls into sync there. I don't know if that's helpful, but
I mean, it's helpful to me to listen to you talk about it for sure, because it made me think of, it's not a remix still, it's still a re-edit, but you know, being forced to use takes other than the ones that the first editor chose. You know, you can't use any of the same takes. You got to use the other take. If it's in the cut of the movie, you got to go back through and find a different take. And if there is no other version of the take, placeholder, media not found, or something like that. I don't know. Maybe there's something to it. Alex, did you have your hand up before? Maybe go ahead.
Yes, but Carrie was first, so
I'm sorry, I didn't know which order that was in, but jump in since you're already talking, and Carrie's shaking her head.
okay. The closest thing to what you're saying that comes to my mind is something called YouTube poop music videos, or in
Yeah.
Japanese MADs, which is like videos from various sources cut together to form either new or known songs. And the idea, it's supposed to be funny because it's unexpected, and the way the source material gets bent into this new song is kind of hilarious. But maybe one could attempt something similar with a more serious approach.
No, I think it is a sort of offhanded but also very important movement for what it is. But I think still it's more akin to collage than it is to remixing. I'm gonna push back on that, and also urge anybody who hasn't encountered YouTube poop to do so, because it's pretty fascinating rabbit hole, maybe rat hole to get into. Carrie, please.
Thank you, Carrie.
Okay. So I'm thinking remix videos. Okay, the 80s, the cocaine videos that had nothing to do with the song. Take the video, or take a song that to you, the original video, that's not how you perceived or had the story in your head, and do the video how you perceived it when you were listening to the song. Does that make sense? Because you know I'm bad with words. So that's my thoughts on the video remix, is like how, like, if you do a cover tune, don't do it just like how the original band did the song. Do it how you would, you know, your style, and do the song, and do the same thing with the video. I don't know. That's what I got.
I think that's amazing. No, I think that's fantastic. I think yeah, I'm sort of like thinking about this. I want to check out this YouTube poop. It sounds really interesting. I've been burnt by using public domain stuff because it's not actually public domain. That I got flagged. I got like the red lines wrap across the knuckles for copyright infringement on YouTube once for a video that was public domain. I pulled it off archives.org and it said it's public domain. And then I wikied it and it said it was public domain. And then YouTube said, oh, it's not public domain. And there's no way I could prove to YouTube. They said, oh, get a lawyer. There's no way you can prove it. Yeah. And then some dude said, oh, he doesn't know. And it's like, fuck, really? But anyway, so I don't know how you do a video remix. I'm not sure what that would look like. It's really fascinating to me. It's really exciting to me because it's like, if somebody else had the opportunity to, maybe in my mind, I think of the fantasy of free to air public access TV on late night Saturday nights, where they had this thing that they did and whatever, and you see it now and you go, oh, that's terrible. But there's something wonderful about it. There's something beautifully creepy about it. I just love that shit. I don't know what I'm saying or where I'm going with it. I think my mind's swimming because I've had so much goddamn chocolate ice cream. Does anybody else want to jump in right now and save me from my sugar bliss? The two people who are also full of sugar are going, yeah, I'll talk. Can I throw it to Kerry first, and then I'll throw it to Alex? If that's okay.
Mine will be quick. I'm like hyper on sugar right now. That's another reason why I use Runway AI, because you don't have to worry about the public domain. Okay, was this somebody else's stuff that I'm using? They create the images for you. You don't have to worry about infringement. Okay, Alex.
That's great.
I think Aaron was first, but I just wanted to relay what Peter Bennerstrom asked and its thoughts on digital concerts. I think we talked about it some years prior, but maybe we can talk about it again in Twitch chat.
I love it. Okay, hold on. I'll get to that in a second. Thank you. Aaron, what's going on in your amazing, brilliant mind right now?
Two ideas that I would recommend and or explore. The first thing is in the vein of video remixing. There's a group that I love dearly called Run the Jewels, and they don't do a full-on lyric video. You know, like some people do either or, right? They're like, I want to see the visual video or I just want to see the lyrics. But they did a video where just on the main points of the chorus, they're saying the words lie, cheat, steal, kill, win, and it's flashing on the screen as they do it. Then it goes through the video. There's a bunch of chaos. There's a bunch of things going on, but they come back to the typography being bombastic. And it's such a cool use of blending what would have been just a lyric video or a visual video and threading them together. The second approach that I would recommend is think about, like Zug talked about, a television marathon, etc. If you would have taken a big step back and you weren't the viewer watching it on the screen, but you were in the TV studio, you'd be like, holy fuck, this is unadulterated chaos. How does anybody keep anything straight? If they're running a show, if you're doing a live to tape show, that's a whole nother thing. They've got a whole command room. They've got people. They've got a director calling it out to the switchboard. Everything you're seeing on the TV or during that telethon, they'll say, go to 1, take 1, go to 2, take 2. And he's talking about his different cameras and perspectives. But it could be a really cool didactic approach to a video if you have like a central command room kind of thought pattern, you know what I mean? Where you see the what's behind the curtain, or thinking about a theater show, how many moving cogs there are, from your stage managers to your costume designers to the lights in the house, the soundboard, like everything that's there. But you may be able to find a way to integrate that into a video, and it's kind of meta in the sense of not only am I showing you the video, but I'm also showing you some of the behind the scenes machine gears that are turning.
Love it. Love it. Does anyone else want to jump in on the amazing brain fuckery of videos and shit? Videos and shit.
I think just as Aaron, doing it live switched multicam is a great way of doing it if you happen to have several cameras and a switcher, which, I mean, let's face it, a lot of people do. If you've got a phone, a laptop, and a camera, you've got a 3-cam setup that you can throw in OBS and set your F keys to do live switching. And I actually ready one, take one my way through the first few years of doing video in local access, very Wayne's World. And it is a totally different environment as far as creativity and being on the spot goes. And as far as like high wire live production, thinking fast and punching buttons and talking to people in real time, QVT1 speed, take it. You know, like it's fast and interesting. And sometimes you do have a script, you know, and everybody's just firing off commands that they know are coming up. But sometimes there's improvisation and, you know, just like, hey, tighten up on camera 2, let's get an extreme close up instead, take 2, that kind of stuff like actually goes on. And it's like having a you know, well orchestrated group of people, you know, at the command of a director and a TD like that is engaging. But anyway, so sticking your few cameras on your laptop or plugging them in via USB or whatever is a cool way of doing a multicam thing. So you can actually do kind of a live thing. And I do that all the time when I capture performance or lip sync fake performance for Instagram kind of thing. I just set up a couple of cams and a close up and a wide shot and the, you know, reverse or something. And I either reach over to step through them or record them all at the same time, or MIDI track, sending them changes along with the backing track, that kind of thing. So the camera changes are baked into the final thing, and then I don't edit it later. It's a very interesting and cool way to approach making video and forcing yourself to be finished at the end of it.
It's all about forcing yourself to be finished at the end of it, isn't it? Because then if you start editing or whatever, it's all about trying not to place hurdles into what you're doing, because it's those hurdles that don't make it fun. Interesting. Okay, thank you everyone. This has been amazing. Does anybody else have something they want to throw in? Or a new topic? I see the hand of Alex.
I would maybe ask if anybody has things to look out for when shopping for expression pedals, either used or new.
I see the hand of Raziel.
Go cheap. They're really expensive new for whatever reason. I don't know. It's always the case. I have a bunch of the Roland FV. You know what? I don't even know. I try to get cheap ones. The ones that I have from like 1988 still work fine, and then I have some like DeArmond or Big Metal ones from like 10 years before that that still work. And some of these are volume pedals, some of them are as expression pedals, but things to look for in the features are, if you get a chance to stomp on it, some of the ones have a throw that's going to put your ankle back in a weird way, and it might not be comfortable, but you can always change it by shimming up the back, and it depends if you're going to be mounting it to a guitar style pedal board or if you're just using it on the floor. Maybe if it's got area to Velcro the bottom so you can attach it to something, or double-sided sticky tape it. Those are good features. And you know, the usual things like durability. The Roland ones are plastic as fuck and they still work fine. And I don't even have scratchy pots on my old ones as far as the volume ones, and they don't send spurious data on the expression ones. And I also have a couple built into other pedals. Yeah, they all still work. It's like you'd figure I have Crybaby pedals from the same era that are scratchy and clunky, and the bearings have gotten weird, but expression pedals, maybe I just don't use them as much. So yeah, there's some things.
Yeah. So I have also a super expensive Roland one, and it's got stereo in, stereo out, and an expression. Like some of them come with batteries, some of them don't need batteries. Actually, all my expression pedals don't have batteries. Interestingly, the expensive Roland one, excuse me, does not work with all my gear. I don't know why. So it goes into the input, the expression pedal input. And that can also be a modular input, by the way. Don't let it be a negative voltage, because on some synths they can fuck out. But that's looking for either a 0, I think it's 0 to 10 volt. So you can assign a modular output to drive your expression pedal. If it's got an expression pedal in, that's an analog in. Then I got this cheap thing for like $15. Works perfectly on all my gear. And it's just an expression pedal. Expression pedals have got a little sensor on the side, super important. Some don't have that super important knob, and that makes them problematic because there's not a lot of travel in them. Well, there's too much.
You're talking about a trim for the level.
And some even have a shape like an exponential versus linear shape. They're actually really cool because on some things you do want linear and other things you want exponential. So that's what I think. That's it. And expression pedals are fun. And I think they then put out on MIDI controller 8, I think. And you can use that to control a whole bunch of other stuff, I think. I could be wrong. I don't use enough of them, but I need to. I've only got 2, and I'm always moving shit around. Does anybody else have experience on this that they want to talk about? I made the realization. Oh, go ahead, Raziel, please.
Timing. I mentioned this last week before I think we were talking, but I have a floor pedal that does has 2 assignable continuous controller pedals to step on, and just an interesting data point. I have it assigned mostly for use with guitar, and one of them on the left does volume. The one on the right is an aux send to long reverb or infinite delay, and they are placed close enough together. And this goes back to like 1988 on my guitar and pedal board where I velcroed the 2 Roland pedals very close together. So you can step on them both at the same time and do a volume swell from silent to full volume with it throwing into the delay effect at the same time. Or you can put a foot on one or the other and do, let's say, delay off, just volume swell, or original signal off and just swell into the delay or reverb. So mounting them together side by side, getting 2 pedals as volume pedals, not quite the same as CV and expression, what you were talking about. But these happen to be just control voltage pedals, and all of the affecting is being done in the digital domain in my DAW. So they are truly expression pedals, acting as if they were analog volume pedals. Excuse me.
I love it. I love it. Does anybody else want to throw in on this? Meow, meow, meow. Does anybody else want to throw in, like have some crazy conversation about fucking something? I had a realization this week about the importance of fucking spreadsheets. Man, I know I hate talking about this stuff, but you got to have a, like when you're making music, you've got to have a spreadsheet in the spread, because I can't remember. I have no way of remembering. I'm like juggling 10 songs right now. And I've been juggling one of these songs for like 4 or 5 years. I have no recollection of where the synths and everything, the lyrics are at. So that's why you've got to have a spreadsheet. I see the hand of the resonator.
Yeah, you say spreadsheet, I hear way of storing your stuff carefully. And I translate that quickly into database instead of spreadsheet, just because some of us need very badly to lay the stuff out arbitrarily on the screen or page rather than seeing it columnar. And there's a fine line between, the presentation window of a database and the spreadsheet itself. I mean, they're essentially the same thing, structured data. But I've been using Notion for that. It's a free-ish, with pay version. It operates in many modes, but being a spreadsheet is one of them, being a database is one of them, being a web server. But practicing that, keeping track of your shit early on in the project and making notes that you're going to refer back to.
Yeah.
Second brain.
Yeah.
Because the common parlance that we're using now. Keep it somewhere that you trust. I still find Notion confusing in its restrictions coming from like FileMaker back in the day, where you could just do layouts and make it real ugly. Notion wants you to make it stay pretty, which might be the strength of a spreadsheet for you, is that you don't have the temptation to start moving things around on the screen. They're just in columns, and thus the job gets done. But I'm into it.
Thank you very much. I'm reading some of the comments. They're very interesting, and I appreciate the great chat about guitar pedals. Do we want to keep talking about stuff, or do we want to raid on over to MTV TV, because it's fantastic? I feel we've reached a bit of a lull. Okay, then we're gonna do some rating right now. Hold on, I'm gonna make sure that all of my P's and Q's are in line.
Carrie.
Carrie.
What's going on up there?
I just want to send a shout out to Diane if she's watching, and wish her a speedy recovery. And
yes.
I am just so excited that she found a donor, and I'm just happy, and I just want to let her know we're thinking of her and we're sending out great healing energy vibes. I just had to put that in there.
I swear I could tell by the look on your face that that's what you wanted to go to, but that's why
Yeah,
I jumped in.
as soon as you said MTV, I was like, oh yes, because
Yeah.
I check in on her in the mornings, and yeah. So if she's watching, we're here for you. We're rooting you on.
Yeah, we really are, Diana. We're hoping you're
Oh
doing
my
well,
God,
and it's
Tangerine.
fantastic news, and we are positively sending energy to you that this is going to be good. Let's rate. Thank you for joining Art of Rock. We are here every weekend. Every Saturday we're here. But right now we're gonna fling on over to MTV TV because your new favorite band is waiting for you, and MTV TV rocks supremely. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And if you're on, excellent. Okay, if you're watching on Twitch or anything else, on any other bloody thing, and now I can't find the damn thing. God damn it, I can't find, give me a minute. This is great. The world's breaking and it's all my fault. I am looking for the MTV TV link and I don't have it. Far out. Oh, God, I suck. Really? Seriously?
That's when Razi and I need to join forces and just be like, live to tape recording, go to commercial.
That's it. So we are going to, this is where we're going. Yeah, this is where we're going. Boom, MTV TV. Thank you for joining us. You rock. Bye.
Bye.
You know, I am one day going to